And it's the enemy's turn to tango. See what they want to do. Naturally, he's just going to heal up. As if it's going to help him. It won't. Back up north here. The barbarians getting away with a kill. That's going to be rare for them. Yeah, we'll give them one. That's all they're going to get. So you may have noticed that the enemies there are commanding two different types of troops. That is something that was implemented in the sequel here. Similar to how Dragon Force 2 allowed you to command two different types of troops per general, in Langrisser 2 you are now able to employ two unique classes of mercenary. I mean, it could be anything that you have access to. Soldiers and archers, knights and griffins. It really depends on what that general has unlocked. So when promoting and changing your class, you don't want to just take into account what they're going to get in terms of attack and defense boosts, magic. You want to consider what type of mercenaries they're going to have access to, as well as the nature of their basic attack. Because attack animations like you see there, Elwin has that ground wave. It's very important to take into account the properties of these attacks. For example, if you have a type of class that attacks first at a range, you have advantage against a lot of different enemies in this game. Because you basically do all of your potential attack first before they can reach you and do their damage. So it saves a lot of characters who have low defense, because if they can annihilate the enemy first with their high attack, it doesn't matter if they have the defense of a sandwich. It really doesn't. This is why Hein is so powerful in the Langrisser version of this game. Because here you see that he's a bit more balanced. He has kind of a wind up. There's a duration to his attack. It has to prepare itself, and in that time period he can be attacked. So I can't just throw him out there too recklessly. Now in Langrisser, that was changed. He was given the speedy strike of, I can't remember what class it is here. It's one of the high-end magic classes, either wizard or summoner. But they have a very strong, very quick fire-based attack. And that's basically his standard attack at the beginning. So that's one of the things that makes Langrisser so much easier than this one. Because even with his low defense, he can annihilate most of the basic troops in one turn. So yeah, feel free to just send him out to the front. It's fine. He's okay. Save that MP. You don't need it. Yeah. I'm just trying not to laugh at how ridiculous it is. I mean, after playing this one, it's a far cry. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, we're gonna have to be more careful here for sure. And while we're on the subject, I'll talk a little bit more about Langrisser, and then I'll kind of give it a rest for a little bit. I'll try to refrain from discussing the two too much in the early stages, because we're just getting started. I don't want to overwhelm you. And also I'm limited. I don't want to discuss certain things that could be spoilers for what we're going to see later. That having been said though, yes, in Langrisser, battles in general are just much simpler. A lot less strategy needed to succeed. There's a lot more hidden items and secret event locations, which is a good thing. It's interesting. It's still fun, just it seems like there's a lot less tactically minded. There's a lot less obstacles to overcome. It's very much a more casual, streamlined experience, so I think I would recommend it as your first Langrisser game, as your first entry into the series. But at the same time, I don't know, it might spoil you, because if you're used to that particular style of play, it might turn you off of Langrisser and Langrisser 2, which are definitely less forgiving and more straightforward in their presentation. It's really hard to say. And when in doubt, start with the original and go from there. I mean, if you like Langrisser, Warsong, you're gonna love the rest of the series most likely. And I really only call it Warsong to help differentiate it. You know, I kind of hesitate to call it by the localized name now, because looking back after finishing that Let's Play, I'm kind of disappointed, because I undertook it under the assumption that, you know, it was the Japanese version translated into English, so we'll get to see the original portraits and original dialogue too, not just the names. But after finishing it, it looked like all they did was take the English text and paste it over the Japanese game, but just retain the Japanese name, so all the localization was kept intact. So there's still so much of the story that was just abridged or just outright gotten rid of, it seems like, or simplified or dumbed down, which is unfortunate. At the same time, I can't really be mad about Traco, because if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have gotten a single Langrisser game over in the West at all. We probably wouldn't even see the 3DS game over here, which, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, is best avoided, sadly. Hopefully that will not be the swan song for the series, but if it is, it just might be for the best, considering the original team isn't even working on them anymore at this point. They've moved on to other projects, so it's one of those things. If it's gotta go, let it go with grace, you know? So, there's only one bandit left, it looks like. One soldier. We got this. Elwin, Hein, go to town, do what you do. He's down. With no fanfare to follow. It's his own fault. Ambush is a cowardly tactic. You won't see us stoop that low. Not now, not ever. I guess the one thing that I can say about Langrisser, if you're really into being able to play as the bad guys, or, you know, go off of the path that the game intends you to go, that is a selling point. Normally, I'm big on that. I like when the game offers you those kind of choices, just to experience it from another perspective. But in this game, it really does feel kind of forced. I mean, just based on the backstory and the legacy of the characters in this series, this world. I mean, really, why would you join the Imperials? I can't think of any sane reason why Elwin would want to do that, based on what we've seen and based on what I've encountered later on that I'm not going to reveal. But, you know, you can if you want to. But again, like I said, it's nice that you get to experience both sides of it. And it is still a fun ride. I will probably show off the Saturn version of Langrisser 2. They call it Langrisser 2, it's really Langrisser, when this is all over and done. And now that I've posted it, I can talk about that as well. I also have the Saturn playthrough of Langrisser 1 up right now, the dramatic edition. So as soon as that's concluded and this is done, I will probably hop into Langrisser 2, just trying to keep things in some sort of a chronological order here. And I'm not trying to have everything at once, it's just, it's overwhelming for me and for you, I would imagine. Yeah. Also, last episode I commented on the portraits in this game, how detailed and exquisite they looked. I still feel that way. And obviously it doesn't apply to the Saturn versions. Both of those games look great in that department. That was another problem that I had adjusting to Langrisser. I don't know what it is, but sometimes when games are brought to the Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, I don't know, they treat it like that system can't render anime or hand-drawn portraits or something. It's not the first game I've encountered that, but they just look very flattened and boxed in and relatively dull and lifeless. Like, you see how vibrant these characters look, I mean, look at this. You know, don't you want to see them in a show or something? But in the Super Famicom version, because it didn't release in the West, they just look very drab in comparison. That took some adjusting to. You know, not to be very shallow, I mean, technically it doesn't affect gameplay, but, you know, style does account for something. You know, the art, the aesthetic, it adds to the overall experience, just like the music does. You know? And with the exception of a couple of characters in that version, most of them definitely got the shortest end of the sticks. And again, in terms of audio, that's more of a split. That's more divisive, that could go either way depending on your own personal preference. I think some sounds, some songs turned out really well in that version, and they're probably better. In general, I prefer the tone of the instruments in this version. Overall, I would say this soundtrack is more fitting to this game, but that's personal opinion, it's completely subjective, feel free to disagree. I do feel that the Super Nintendo has a great sound chip. In a lot of areas it beats the Sega sound chip for 16-bit. I think, again, I've probably said this before, they each cater to different areas and stand out in those areas. I feel like if you want an arranged, orchestrated, symphonic type of sound, you know, Nintendo wins out in that area in this era. If you want more of a rock, pop, techno, industrial, drum and bass rock sort of sound, something a little more edgy, that's where this one's out. I mean, Streets of Rage 2, come on. But, I mean, that's the obvious example, but there are others. There are lots of others, actually. The original war song, Langrisser, yeah. I will stand by that soundtrack for as long as I draw breath. It's amazing. But again, this one just has so much more compositions in it. It's just much more engaging in that area. I mean, like this, for example. And you notice how in the course of a battle, how it switches gears so frequently. So that's another nice addition to this. You don't just hear the one song all the way through. It always fits the mood. It always accompanies the action. So if there's a sudden counterattack, if somebody is defeated in battle and it's scripted, or if somebody shows up unexpectedly, you know, if the tide turns in any way, the music often reflects this. And it's a really nice touch. Yeah, these fights are going to be kind of slow because they're even in stats, so they're both going to have a hard time dealing with each other. Except for when one's at 3. Then that's pretty much a wrap. And it's time for them. Uh-oh, what are you doing? Oh, going for the weak ones, I see. Who can be mad? Makes perfect sense, right? Yeah. But look at it this way. They're not targeting Scott at least. Because I don't know if he can stand up to Zoro and all of his men by himself. The NPCs are strong, they're helpful, but they're just not reliable. You know, they steal kills, they'll go after the ones who you don't want them to go after. They'll pick off the weak ones, won't attack the strong ones and do significant damage, making it easier for us to swoop in and get that experience that we need, not them. But anyway. Alright, we won't have any troubles with him. Yeah, so in order to end this, we really just need Liana to reach the top of the map. So it's going to be a race. Can we finish off Zoro in time and get that extra experience for Scott, or is it going to be up to Liana to just end it quick for us? And by quick, I mean anything but. Too early to say, we'll see how it goes. Now that's impressive. Despite being out of command range, they still did a point of damage. It doesn't sound like much, but you'd be surprised. Only because I knew that he had the health advantage did I do that. Now if this was Hein, he wouldn't have taken any damage there. Because he would have sent out those fireballs like magic bullets. The fighter would have never had a chance. And now that the coast is clear up top, Liana's going to start moving a little bit quicker, I think, which is good. Because we're about ready to wrap this up. Don't like the first couple of fights to take too long, you know? And Scott has one troop left. Technically it's troops, but they're represented by a single unit, so... And... Didn't do too well. And they're not getting a terrain advantage against him, so... Go figure. And stranger things have happened, I suppose. That's an understatement. Okay, she's getting there. And he's going where? Okay. It's kind of a stalemate right now. Alright, so we'll send Elwin down just in case he can swing things in our favor a little bit more. Maybe he'll be the X factor. Should he manage to catch up? Don't see it happening, but it won't hurt. And you get a look at the coastline there. Little seaside battle. I would prefer a seaside retreat, but it's not meant to be. Another nice touch about this game, 90% of the time, it's good about changing the background in the battle screen to match your current location on the map. And they do a much better job of it in this one than the original, so they've definitely done their homework. They've definitely stepped up the game here. And they're just picking them off one by one each turn. You see our numbers are diminishing quickly over there. And we'll put them on manual because it'll just save us a couple of seconds. No sense in moving troops who won't make it anyway, and even if they could, what good would they do? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I want to see in an NPC. And you know, I have to give this series credit. In my limited experience with it, it seems like the NPCs in certain situations are better than a lot of games in terms of actually pitching in. Like if they have a healing ability, if they're in range, they've got nothing else to do, they will heal you. I've actually saved my butt on a couple of occasions with that. Loren. Got the nerve to call yourself a lord. I do have to admit though, his schnoz is pretty impressive. And for you snapper whippers and boppertinis, schnoz means nose, because I don't know if that's still in the lingo. I haven't heard it in so long. It's hard to keep up. Yeah, okay, good. Sky just leveled up. He's gonna need those. He's a pretty good fighter on the offensive front. His major weakness is defense, and that'll probably carry on for the majority of this. If only there were permanent stat boosting items in this, that would be nice. And we'll just have to make do. Moving forward, if you were to tackle this battle yourself, and I hope you do, because that would mean you're playing this game, and I highly recommend doing that, you might want to send Elwin down south instead, because he could have probably actually taken out more of the enemy. But at the same time, you have to keep in mind that there's so many NPCs taking up real estate down here, which is why I chose not to go that route. So this battle, I wouldn't really sweat it too much either way. Whatever you do, I would say send a couple people up north, one down south, help out the NPCs, and call it a day. This is one fight where I'm not too pressed about getting every kill, so that's my personal recommendation. But if you do want to go that route, I would send Elwin maybe. And Loren gave us the Great Sword, which is useful, which is why I only bought one. Free attack upgrade is always welcome. And that's about it for the battle. We are going to be on the move. Hein learned to tack up. That's what we wanted to see. Thank you. So until next time, everybody, if you've enjoyed the video, please share your thoughts with the rest of us. Leave a like, do whatever you're moved to do. And please join me next time for Scenario 3. Have a great day and see you soon.